Hey everybody, welcome back to Spoiler Alert here on KRUA 88.1 FM, Anchorage, Alaska. I'm Tobin, Stuntman Mike is here, and just so you know, of course, we're streaming online as well, KRUAradio.org, and we are now very pleased to be joined by an actress and G4 TV correspondent, frequently seen on Attack of the Show, and also can be seen in the June 3rd G4 TV special, Tomorrow's Warrior. It's Alison Haislip. Alison, how are you?
Hello. I'm good. I think this is officially my first call ever to Alaska.
Hooray. And it's not a bad one, so that's not...
not at all.
Yeah. So, well, congratulations for calling Alaska and getting through and everything.
Thanks. I know. My cell phone actually makes it there.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have a brother in California, and we usually have good times getting... phone connections aren't too horrible between here and there, so...
That's good. Does he joke about how much warmer it must be here than there?
Yeah. We get the wish you were here postcards a lot. It's not very pleasant. So, yeah, what have you been up to? I've seen you on Attack of the Show a lot recently. How are things going?
Things have been awesome on the show. It's been really fun. You know, obviously Olivia's NBC pilot got picked up, so she's been buzzing around the country for that. So it's been really fun filling in for her when she's out. I love hosting the show. It's always great to work with Mr. Kevin Pereira. And other than that, sorry?
Oh, no, I was like, yeah, you guys work really well together.
Yeah, he's fun. He's a fun guy. I know I've said this many times before, but, like, it's actually really awesome to be working on a show where you're actually friends with everyone.
I would imagine that makes it makes it a bit easier, a little more, low-key or less stressful.
Definitely. Going to work is like going for a play date or something like that.
Hey, really
Although
quick.
I don't think I've had a play date since I was 12 years old, but whatever.
we don't call them play dates anymore. Social meetings or gatherings.
There we go.
Engagements. Really quick, since you mentioned it, Olivia having her NBC pilot picked up, any idea, I mean, is she going to be around G4 for a while, or are you going to get, like, bumped up? What's the deal?
Well, as of right now, she's not going anywhere. Like,
Okay.
Nothing's changing. She might be out a little bit more, and I might be subbing in more, which is great, but, officially, she's not going anywhere. She's 100% committed to the show, which is great.
Yeah, excellent. Very good to hear. Okay,
Yeah.
well, let's get into some interrogation questions here.
Bring it.
All right. In addition to doing the stuff with Attack of the Show and roaming the world, doing awesome things, you're in this Tomorrow's Warrior special, which from what I've seen from the commercials and promos and all that, appears to be you and Weston Scott playing with guns and technology and other things that go boom. I mean, was there more to it than that, or is that really what it is?
We trained with a military special ops guy and actually learned, some of these high-tech military tactics that various military uses. It was really incredible, to be honest. Weston is fantastic to work with, and he actually is an ex-Marine. So he comes from, a very strong military background. Me, on the other hand, I never held a gun until about 2 years ago when I first got this job. So we make a great team. He's there kind of training me, and I'm there like the trusty sidekick who's got a witty joke every now and then. And we shot it back in February, and I believe we shot it over 2 days, and it was two of the longest, most physically exhausting days of my life, but was so awesome to do. You're going to see a lot of guns, obviously. I do some serious ass-kicking on a wave runner. And the whole thing ends with us escaping in a helicopter, so it's pretty sweet.
Yeah, that's not a bad way to wrap up something, is escape by helicopter.
I know.
You did mention it, but you don't really have much experience with guns. You said, I mean, I think it was basically G4 was the first time you got to use and play guns. I mean, kind of, how did you guys, I guess, in this specific special, how did this opportunity come about? But then, kind of in general, did you ever think you'd be the chick wielding machine guns whilst, driving a jet ski, or?
Right. Well, I mean, I'll be honest. Growing up, I always wanted to be a superhero. I always wanted to be an action star of some sort. So finding this niche within G4 has been kind of a dream come true to me. The fact that I do now know how to wield a gun correctly, and I can do a high-speed car chase and things like that. But yes, I had never actually held nor shot a gun until my very first package that I shot for G4, in which I went to a shooting range and shot a rifle. And it was an experience to me that was like, okay, I can see why this is fun. I see why people are into this. And then the fact that it kept coming up in my job and people started just loving it more and more whenever I went out and shot guns. There definitely was a moment in my life where I was like, okay, this is what I've become. This is what is happening right now. And then obviously the special just came about by the fact that Weston is our military correspondent, and I am the chick on the network who shoots guns, and so the network was like, well, the two of them, we should put them together and do something awesome with them.
It's a very magic moment.
Yes.
So you talked about like how fun it is to work at G4, between everybody being friends and you getting to shoot guns. Is there anything mundane about your job, things that fans might not be aware of?
Going through hair and makeup is pretty boring. It takes about an hour to an hour and a half every day that we go through hair and makeup.
Ooh.
Well, that's good.
It's to get all that glamour into the television world.
No, that's good to hear that there's something kind of like a little like not awesome about your job, because like anyone who ever watches like Attack of the Show or anything else on G4 for like more than 20 minutes, like, I want to work there. My job sucks.
Right. Yeah, it's a job that when I explain to people what I do for my job, 98% of the time the response that I get is, you have the coolest job in the world. And you cannot take that for granted.
That is one thing I'm thankful for with radio, because we don't have to go through the makeup or anything.
Yeah.
Right. Well, it's not like going through makeup is tedious. It's just you don't expect it to take that long before you go off and, ride a jet ski.
Yeah, that's like I've never that would have never crossed my mind that you actually need to get prepared on that kind of level to go ride a jet ski. Get the
right.
Interesting.
And could you also tell us how you got connected with G4? We saw that you were a bartender before you landed this job, but what else? How did you get connected to G4?
Well, I have been playing video games since I was 8 years old. I got, the old school Nintendo for Christmas when I was 8, and played all the way. Well, I still play continuously. And I happened to be bartending one night, and a guy who worked in development at G4 came in and sat at the bar, and I was pouring him beers, and I was actually wearing a old school Nintendo remote-controlled charm necklace. And he asked me about it, and I was like, it's my video games. And he was like, really? And I was like, yeah, I like playing games. And he was like, okay, you're a girl. And I'm like, yeah, so I play games. Like, I was the only female member of a GoldenEye club that we had in college. So he kind of just kept quizzing me more about video games and all sorts of, like, nerd stuff. And finally he was like, you need to be on our network. I said, okay. And he got my email address and kept in touch. And, like, 2 weeks later got me a meeting at G4. And then about a week after that, they actually brought me in for a screen test. And then 2 weeks after that, they hired me for my first gig. And it all happened so quickly that it didn't actually occur to me that this was turning into a really awesome career, simply from the fact that I loved playing Mario Brothers when I was 8 years old.
Yeah, so the lesson to learn from that is if you want a job in California, Hollywood, just go hang out / work at bars. Is that basically it? Or
you know what? I feel like that's the quote-unquote Hollywood story, but it really doesn't happen all that often. Like, when I tell the story out here to people, they're like, wow, you actually have the Hollywood story, But no, you don't. You so rarely meet anyone else who, was discovered on the streets or whoever. I feel like the only other story I know of is, what's his name? The kid who was in Terminator 2.
Okay, yeah.
Eddie Furlong, that was him, right?
Yes, yeah.
I think he was literally discovered on the street.
Well, that's like the least amount of effort you could put into finding a job. That's awesome. And you were
right, yeah, exactly.
And you were tending bars, so I've seen a couple of interviews. You're actually you're pretty big into beer, right?
I love beer. Yeah. I really the bar that I worked at had 36 different beers on tap, and they were all from microbreweries and stuff. Like, the only common beer that we had on tap was Miller Lite, just to appease people who were coming in there and were not beer connoisseurs.
People who like to drink water, yes. Okay.
Right, exactly. Oh, we did have PBR on tap too, which was just kind of there for like the kitsch factor.
Yeah.
But other than that, I worked at that bar for 2 years, I think, and just really grew to love all these little different microbreweries and really got a taste for certain, really learned what my tastes were within beer. and that stuck with me.